Good morning, people. How late am I today? 9:18 on Tuesday, the 17th of August. I'm late. It's dark, isn't it? It's like winter. Well, that's much better, really. It's like winter out there. What happened? I put my coat on this morning. Anyway, I bumped into Helen, who I used to, well, I didn't used to work with her, but our paths kind of crossed through work, and it was a random, by chance kind of meeting, and it was nice to catch up. So I'm late, so I apologise, but I blame her. Do you know what I mean? That she should dare be on the road that I was walking down to, therefore interrupt me to be late to the table. Um, for you good people. Anyway, what am I going to talk about today? Get in the tunnel. I have no idea where this is going. I'm reading a book at the minute. There's an analogy in it about being in the tunnel, and about bandwidth, how much bandwidth, mental bandwidth we have. Limited is the kind of easy answer. And they're talking about this. It's a book called Scarcity. They're talking about um, the benefits and the problems of being in the tunnel, because it depends what sort of tunnel you're in, I suppose. And it took me to think about one of my phrases, one of my stock phrases, which is um, set your intention and then pay attention. Well, paying attention, the mindfulness bit, is about being in the tunnel, isn't it? It's about being in the tunnel, um, to the exclusion of everything else. And if you can manage this being in the tunnel, you can create a state of flow, so you kind of move effortlessly through the task that you've set yourself in this piece of time. You move effortlessly through it to some sort of conclusion, and you can set and establish how long the tunnel is in terms of time, um, and you can set what you're going to do when you're in that tunnel, and that's really important. Um, Staying focused on the task that you are engaged in. One of the things to talk about is, and they use the term multitasking, and I hate the term multitasking, but then I can't do one thing at once, can't you? The problem is with multitasking is that there is an attentional deficit when you switch between tasks, because you are not doing two tasks um, concurrently. Is that the word? You are not doing two tasks concurrently. You are doing a bit of this task, then a bit of that task. It's a bit like your computer. You know, when you've got, I don't know, you've got Spotify playing something, you've got something downloading on a website, you've got a browser open because you're reading some text on that browser, and you're also typing in your Word document at the same time. It looks like all of those things are happening simultaneously, but they're not. The computer goes off, unless you've got a dual processor. Your computer goes off and does a bit of that, does a bit of this, bit of this, bit of this, and it looks like all these things are happening at once. But what we know is that if we open up too many windows and try to get the computer to do too many things, we get that little icon, don't we? It's a little, on my Mac, it's a little coloured wheel goes round and round. I think on a Windows-based machine, is it still a little timer thing, a little egg timer thing? Um, so you know, there's there's a problem when we kind of overdo the amount of tasks we do. So multitasking doesn't work, um, because what it does is it means we have to shift attention between two tasks, and every time you shift attention, there is a deficit created, because you have to move from this task to the next task, and if those two tasks are on similar sorts of tasks, then the deficit you create in that transition is even more significant. So the secret is to get in the tunnel. The secret is to have planned and organised your strategy for the day to such an extent that when it gets to 9:30 and your diary says write this thing or make this phone call or go to this meeting, that you can be 100% in that meeting or phone call or report writing tunnel, to the exclusion of everything else. And it's really difficult. It's a skill, and it's something that you can work on, and that's really important to kind of work on that. But it's not easy. A lot of it's about environment. It's about the environment you create, but also the other people that are in your environment. It's one of the problems of open plan offices. There are benefits to open plan offices, but that's one of the problems of open plan offices, is the amount of distractions. And in the book, they were talking about kind of how noise distracts you, physical noise in the room, because you kind of tune into the noise, don't you? And there's something about working in quiet when you've got deep work tasks to do. But also, they talk about psychological noise. Um, so, you'll have done this. You'll get to work and you'll have had a bit of a barney with the kids, or you'll have had a bit of a barney with your husband or your wife or whatever, and it dominates your thoughts, doesn't it? And that's difficult and problematic, and it starts pulling you away from the task that you're trying to endeavour to get on with. So we've got this idea that we need to get into the tunnel and then stay in the tunnel. And one of the secrets of getting into the tunnel and staying in the tunnel is having everything outside of the tunnel organised. I call this your sphere of responsibility. So in your sphere of responsibility is everything that you are responsible for, and we need to pick those things off one at a time and get into a tunnel with that task. And the way to do that is to plan and structure, so that when you're in the tunnel, you know exactly what you need to do at this point in time, because it's the most important thing for this moment in time that you need to do. That relies on you planning your week ahead, reconnecting on a morning and planning your day, and then planning tomorrow. It relies on all of those kind of things that I've talked about in other places. But one of the biggest problems in terms of procrastination is when you emerge from the tunnel. So if you emerge from the tunnel and you don't know what you're going to do next, this creates what I call a boundary moment. And the boundary moment is where you are. It's the boundary between the thing you're doing and the next thing you're going to do. And the boundary moment creates a potential problem, because if you don't know what you're going to do next, if you haven't planned what you're going to do next, you will spend time, waste time thinking, what do I need to do next? Where's my list of things to do if you've got a list? What is it that I need to do next if you haven't got a list? You have to then start working through things. Is there something I need to do? Write those notes, or is it, what do I need to do next? You end up kind of wasting time, and the biggest problem there is we end up putting the kettle on and having a cup of tea or talking to somebody, because we can't move effortlessly out of one tunnel into the next tunnel. So if you have at your disposal a trusted system, David Allen's part of David Allen's Getting Things Done methodology, if you have a trusted system that contains everything you need to do, and you've then spent time in planning, allocating task to time, and you've done that for your whole day, and you've done that for your whole week, and you've somewhere stored all the things that aren't quite in there yet because they're not urgent enough or important enough, or the time for them is not running out, then if you've not done all of that, then you don't know what to do next. You've got the rest of the afternoon to play with. What do I do next? And one of the reasons that to-do lists don't work, because the trusted system is different to a to-do list. To-do lists are often made when you're in crisis. They're often made when you have a paperwork day. Start the day by making a to-do list. The problem with to-do lists is, when you make them in that way, is you are never sure that everything's in there. I read some research a while back, and I can't remember the figure now, but it was something like 40% of things on to-do lists never get done before you create the next to-do list, that kind of thing. And so to-do lists are problematic, because you never complete the tasks on them. You make them when you're in crisis, and you're never sure whether you've captured everything that needs to be done on them. I've said that. The other thing is, you tend to then pick off them the easy things that are to do, rather than the most urgent, the thing with the greatest priority. So the planning not only helps you get into the tunnel, but means that when you come out of the tunnel, you can immediately see the next tunnel thing that you need to get into. So strategic planning is what it's all about, getting into the tunnel, being mindful when you are in the tunnel, doing things. Mindfulness is not some airy-fairy kind of spiritual concept or whatever. It's just the practical getting into the zone, the practical kind of focusing as best you can on the one task at a time, to the exclusion of all of the tasks. So there you go. Get in the tunnel. That was all right, that. I was reading that this morning. There'll be more from that book. It's a really good book. I haven't got it with me. Can't remember the names of the authors. It's called Scarcity. It's really good. So we'll catch you tomorrow. Take care. Have good Tuesdays. And we'll see you tomorrow for Hump Day. See you then.